The issues that the state, one of the set of information that the state refused to give was about the undercover operation and the involvement of American and British agents, and also those who are friends of Israel. They were very closely involved, and at the time, from what we read in the media, it was largely through information supplied by them that the arrest was made. So in his reply, the minister went out of his way to say that there's no foreign involvement and that this is a local matter and there is no need for foreign involvement, which is not true because twice already the defense team, according to what we read in the newspapers, wanted disclosure of that information because at the time that was the crux of the case, that it was an undercover operation by security forces outside South Africa. So as a member of parliament, that is unacceptable. That is completely unconstitutional. We can't allow other countries to run our security service in South Africa. As far as the Thulsie matter is concerned, they must have their day in court and the law must take its course. So that is our position. They have been charged and we have to wait for the outcome. In fact, this was reinforced by press statements that they want to tell the story. And I told Parliament, besides the parliamentary written question, that a perception is created that South Africa still has detention without trial. Because you can't have a young person, 23 years old, no father, living with a mother, being incarcerated for 6 years. That is unacceptable. How must that family feel? For 6 years, neighbors and other people are pointing fingers at them and stating that their two sons are terrorists, whereas they are newly reverts to Islam and they are very passionate about their deen. They practice their deen, and it is not acceptable for the Muslim community to sit back where people revert to Islam and we don't do anything about it if there are attacks against them in order to try and get them, to not continue their adherence to the Islamic faith. So it is unconstitutional. So the minister in his letter, we don't accept, and he may have misled Parliament, or his prosecutors may have misled him and he misled Parliament, and that's not acceptable. So in the letter, the impression is created that the defense team is delaying the trial, whereas it is the other way around, that the state does not disclose information. How can you defend a client if you don't have all the information available, and especially if it's an undercover operation? So I am quite clear as a member of parliament, the reason the information was not disclosed, because the whole lead up to the arrest was definitely unconstitutional. And in a new South Africa, we cannot accept that. We cannot give away the freedoms that we fought for and that we won, and that is detention with trial. Look, it may not be a classic detention without trial case, but in my view, 6 months, 6 years without a trial date, and I believe the trial date has been set for the 7th of February, and still the judge then has forced the state to provide the undercover information. The defense team needs to take the country into their confidence and tell us what that confidential information is, because it appears to be unconstitutional. It appears to want to revert back to apartheid, and the nation need to know this. And I'm going to raise this when I reply to Cyril Ramaphosa's own address in the next week or two.
Okay, so there are a couple of issues that you've raised. Yeah, alhamdulillah, we do know that the defense team are working very, very hard. They are behind the Thulsie Twins. They have been working for the past so many years to try and get the Thulsie Twins released, and apart from that, to clear their names of these charges that's been brought up against them. We did speak to their attorney last week. You've also indicated that, alhamdulillah, the Thulsie Twins have reverted to Islam, and the whole Muslim community should rally behind them. But undoubtedly, even if they hadn't been Muslim, as a parliamentarian, as a Muslim, as a human being, undoubtedly, I think we all, and you, Ganief, yourself, would have been behind them, because this is like it's almost taking us back to the dark days of apartheid, detention without trial. Here's a set of twins in the prime of their lives, and they left in limbo, and so is the family. The family has been left in limbo as well. So we commend you for the efforts. Let's move on then also to look at the support that you're giving to the family as well, and they really are in gratitude for the entire Muslim community and for you raising this issue in Parliament, inshallah.
Look, we have a representative in court because, you know, the last thing we want is for the media to push a narrative of Islamic extremism and Islamic terrorism in South Africa, which the war on terror operatives in South Africa from Britain and from America and Friends of Israel are trying to push since 2016. They're trying to push the narrative that South Africa must do more to clamp down on the Muslim community. They must spy on every imam and on every maulana and every sheikh and every Muslim activist. And America is prepared to provide the resources because they know we don't have the money and they want to be involved. And I won't be surprised if they are already involved in spying on our imams and sheikhs and maulanas and activists and myself and other people. So it is unacceptable that in a democratic South Africa that this should happen. Also, we cannot, like you say, return to the darkest days of apartheid. Already, a president of a high court said 2 weeks ago when he came to a mosque. His brother-in-law, we commemorated his 100 days, and he said South Africa is not free. This is fake freedom because we have forced removals. And I know about forced removals in South Africa because the mega projects of BRICS are causing major forced removals of people, like we had in the darkest days of apartheid, like we had in District 6. So now, on the eve of the State of the Nation address, you know, there's forced removals highlighted by a president of a high court. And now this perception that is being created, South Africa has detention without trial. This cannot be. We have to defend the victories that we won. And the family needs our support, no matter what the outcome of the verdict is, because you know how these things work with these entrapments, with this grooming, using internet emails. That is America and Israel and Britain. They are the experts in identifying soft targets. Now, I'm not saying that they were soft targets. You know, we are not fighting our issues extra parliamentary. The Muslim community is a peaceful community. We are using Parliament to do that, and activists like the Thulsie Twins, I'm sure they will also use Parliament as they to raise their issues, and any activists. There's no need for terrorism by Muslims in South Africa. And I want to debunk the theory that there's a rise in Islamic extremism. Myself, Naeem Jinnah, Muhammad Harun was at a 3-day conference in Potchefstroom with 40, 50 security operatives in South Africa. And we told them that they mustn't budget to counter Islamic extremism. They must use the money elsewhere. There's no rise in Islamic extremism in South Africa. How can there be a rise if there isn't extremism? So those operatives on the payroll, even Muslim professors and doctors and you name it, for the last 5 years they haven't. They've been getting their fat salaries, but they couldn't produce any evidence of Islamic extremism. And now this is the last hope to justify, the salary and the payouts that they are getting. And we as a Muslim community must guard it, and we must stand behind the Thulsie family. We need to write to them. We need to go to the court. We need to stand behind them because they are now being used to try and vilify the Muslim community in South Africa.
Okay, Ganief, my final question to you then, inshallah, is last week when I spoke to the attorney of the Thulsie Twins, and you've mentioned it now as well, where the Thulsie Twins are very, very prepared and very willing to tell their story to the world. Are they planning on doing this pre their next trial date? Are they working on it already? And once they've solidified the supposed story that they want to get out to the world, how do you believe this is going to happen? And how do you believe it's going to help their case? And obviously clear their names for once and for all. And of course, my final statement here is, inshallah, once their name is cleared, it will say a lot for the South African Muslim community, will it not? Where there are suspicions that perhaps extremism is on the rise here, and that will then prove that there is no such nonsense.
Look, one or two cases, can't smear the whole Muslim community. The Broederbond has 12 cases, and Afrikaners are not seen as an extremist community. One or two cases doesn't count. So even if they found guilty or not guilty, it doesn't really matter. There is no Islamic extremism in South Africa, and there's no rise in Islamic extremism. And that is a narrative we must push. That's why we have a representative in court to make sure that we push the right narrative by issuing the proper press releases and so on as they come about. But this is a very sensitive case. No embassy has been bombed. No Israeli synagogue has been bombed. It was, the allegation is an undercover operation tried to encourage these twins to do so, and now that evidence is going to be withdrawn because it's unconstitutional. I don't know what the Defense Force has to continue to incarcerate these kids after 6 years. They should be released immediately. And the nation should apologize to the Thulsie family. They are under a lot of stress.
Ganief Hendricks, it's been wonderful talking with you this morning. Alhamdulillah, we are so pleased that you've put your weight behind the release of the Thulsie Twins, and undoubtedly we will be following the story very, very closely. Shukran once again, go well, and salamu alaikum to you.
Afwan, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Ganief Hendricks, leader of the Jama-ah party, talking about the immediate release of the Thulsie Twins, or that they should have their day in court and be cleared of these trumped-up terrorism charges against them. He's also calling for the entire Muslim community to support the Thulsie Twins family and also make their voices heard on this matter. 8:38 exactly, news.